Welcome to Explorer Classroom. My name is Vivette Dukes, and I am so glad that you are joining us today. Let me begin by wishing everyone a happy Black History Month. For all celebrating Lunar and Chinese New Year, we send wishes of gentleness and tenderness for this year of the rabbit. At National Geographic, we use the power of science, exploration, education, and storytelling to illuminate and protect the wonder of our world. Explorer Classroom connects students worldwide with our National Geographic explorers for short lessons and time, of course, for your questions. This school year, each month will be organized around a specific theme. This February, Explorer Classroom will be exploring the importance of storytelling and exploration, especially as tools to help us understand what defines us. It's my pleasure today to introduce Explorer Ashley Lamb-Sinclair, an award-winning educator, author, and speaker with a passion for bringing people together to make important changes, especially in the world of education. Ashley is going to tell us about the team that she co-leads called 2892 Miles to Go, Geographic Walk for Justice, which is supported by the National Geographic Society. She is also going to introduce two of her team members who work to share wisdom and stories from neighbor to neighbor in the United States. Take it away, Ashley.
Thank you, Vivette. Appreciate it. Hi, everybody. It's great to see you. I'd love to share a little bit of information about 2892 Miles to Go, which is a social justice education program centered on local community stories about justice, race, and equity that are most often left out of common narratives of human history. We aim to rebalance the imbalance of the kinds of stories and histories that are taught in schools in order to shift the learning experiences of young people who will inherit this land just like you. And so it's my pleasure to introduce our 2892 storytellers with us today, Dr. Alicia Odewale and Christy Williams. Dr. Odewale is a National Geographic explorer, an archaeologist, an educator, a lead storyteller with 2892 Miles to Go, and a speaker with National Geographic Live with her own show entitled Greenwood, A Century of Resilience. Dr. Odewale and the other members of the 2892 Tulsa team are among a collective of other storytellers across the U.S. whose community storytelling journeys will unearth experiences of human history and culture across communities. Christy Williams is a 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre descendant and Creek Freedman descendant. Christy is one of 6 Tulsans serving as a storyteller on National Geographic's 2892 Miles to Go project. She currently serves as chair of one of the City of Tulsa's Greater Tulsa African American Affairs Commission, committee member of the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre Mass Graves Oversight Committee, founding board member of the Black Wall Street Chamber of Commerce, and campaign manager for Tulsa City Councilor Vanessa Hall Harper. Thank you all so much for being here, and thank you to our storytellers. Back to you, Vivette.
Thanks, Ashley. That was wonderful. Thanks for sharing about our explorers today. Before we get into today's lesson, I'd like to welcome our registered viewers who join us literally from around the globe. Special shout out for today go to Jefferson Middle School. Hi. Meadows Elementary School, welcome to you. Poison High School, welcome. Inspire Charter School, so happy to have you. Fox Valley Montessori School, hello. Kingston Intermediate School, so happy to have you with us. and all the homeschools out there. We are thrilled to have you here with us. And with that, let's get this Explorer Classroom started. I cannot wait. It's time to turn it over to Ashley, Dr. Odewale, and Kristi to share all about stories and wisdom from the land around us. Take it away, friends.
Thank you so much, Yvette. And hi to everyone out there. We're going to start sharing our lesson for today. And I hope everyone can see this. We are welcoming you into our Explorer Classroom. Myself, Kristi, and Ashley, we're all part of work that Ashley introduced, 2892 Miles to Go. And today, our February theme for Explorer Classrooms are storytelling, past, present, and future. So we are really excited to be presenting you this journey of storytelling, but how it forms in cycles from past to present and future. So come on this journey with us. Has anyone seen something like this before? I see hands. I see hands. I see some answers in the chat as well. Yes, these are ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics. And if you've seen something like this before, you've probably seen it on temple walls or something on TV. And we as archaeologists, we typically see this written on walls and on tablets, stone tablets. But these pictures represent words and phrases, not just letters and numbers. So these are often expressing really abstract thoughts like religion, love, storytelling, and battle. There's a lot of things that these Egyptian hieroglyphics are expressing to us. And fun fact, did you know that there were actually two different scripts of ancient hieroglyphics? One is called a Demotic script, and one is called a Heroic script. And so these two different writing styles were really important because the Heroic scripts were only used by chief priests and people really close to the pharaoh. So oftentimes what we're seeing as archaeologists left behind are those Heroic scripts that are on sacred walls and temples. So actually most ancient Egyptians couldn't read those symbols. But there are symbols that we see in our everyday life. So let's start with this. Can anyone tell me what a symbol is? Okay, I see some hands. Have you all studied this before, symbols? Yeah, you might think about what a symbol is. And to give you a simple definition, a symbol is anything that stands for or represents something else. So a symbol could be something as simple as a picture in a story, a character, an action, even an animal can be symbolic for something. So you all may have a school mascot. Does your school have a mascot? Yeah, it might be a tiger or a bird, or in our case, in Kristi and I's case, it's a hornet. And so these animals are often symbolic for how smart, how brave, how fierce their students are at the school. And you may see symbols in your everyday life, like emojis. Do you all use emojis? Yeah. There are pictures expressing words, expressing emotions, expressing sometimes complex things happening at the same time, the crying, laughing emoji. But these symbols can also be used to launch a movement. Has anyone seen this symbol before? Yeah, okay, I'm seeing lots of hands. Great. Oh, wow. A lot of people. Great. This is a raised fist. So this raised fist is a symbol for Black power and Black resistance. And it's important because you may see this symbol a lot especially this month. This is Black History Month. And we see this symbol, not just now, but in the past, we saw it as a symbol for the Black Panther Party, but also it's now a symbol connected to the Black Lives Matter movement. And today we're using this symbol as a way to continue to fight against racism. But also, symbols can help us tell stories. And so to give you that, I'm gonna kick it off to my colleague, Kristi. I'm gonna dive into her family story.
Thank you. I am Christy Williams, and I'm so happy to share my story with all of you today. As many of you may take summer trips to visit your grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, family, friends, I did the same thing as a young child. When my family would come to visit Oklahoma, we always stayed at my Aunt Janie's house. Aunt Janie is actually my great aunt. And one of the things I enjoyed about Aunt Janie was the candy she had on her coffee table and her ability to tell the most amazing stories. And here's a fun fact, since it is Black History Month, my Aunt Janie actually, she was a hairdresser. And she learned to do hair at the Madam C.J. Walker School on Greenwood in the 1940s, after Greenwood was rebuilt. But we'll get into that in just a little bit. But Madam C.J. Walker was a self-made millionaire who made a lot of hair products for Black women and tools to do our hair. And so she was very, very successful. But Aunt Janie was also a Creek freedman and a survivor of the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre.
Oh, I think it's
When
Christy's
we
frozen.
would go visit Aunt Janie, oh, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Keep going.
One of the things Aunt Janie, okay, sorry, Aunt Janie would tell me and my sister stories about how our family was enslaved by Creek Indians, and later they set us free, and we became members of the Creek Nation known as Creek Freedmen. Many Creek freedmen spoke the Creek language, and some even shared the customs of the Creek Nation. In fact, my great-grandmother spoke the Creek language. Janie would always remind us, you're not just Black, you are also a Creek freedman, and that's important for you to know and something to be proud of too. As a little girl, I would often wonder what my life would have been like as a Creek freedman. One of the stories my Aunt Janie told me is that when she was 17 years old, is that she had a boyfriend. Her parents did not want her to date or have a boyfriend. That was absolutely forbidden. So she kept him a secret. One day, they planned to sneak to a movie at the most beautiful theater in Oklahoma, the Williams Dreamland Theater. And Aunt Janie would often talk about the beauty of Greenwood and how it was the fancy hotels, and you could smell all the different the food from the restaurants, and it was the place to go to get the latest dress, and it was just a happening place. But while they were in the movie theater, something horrible was happening outside. White residents of Tulsa started a massacre in Greenwood by setting fire to homes, churches, and businesses on Black Wall Street. They also shot, killed, and kidnapped the Black residents who lived in Greenwood. Aunt Janie and her date was able to escape the theater, and they were able to seek refuge in a nearby town called Claremore, Oklahoma. Over 300 Black people lost their lives that night. Families couldn't even have funerals for their loved ones. The city of Tulsa buried the victims in large unmarked graves throughout Tulsa. Aunt Janie talked about some of her friends and our family members who were never seen or heard of again. She was so afraid to come back to Tulsa, it took her 8 years to find the courage to come back to visit. Those stories us where to find ancestors. A lot just today, and well, actually in 2021, the Mass Graves Investigation Committee set out to find where are those loved ones in these mass graves. And so stories was told to us from elders in the community, including my Aunt Janie, who always said that one of the mass graves is in Oaklawn Cemetery, right under the huge oak tree, which you see the picture with us praying right there. And when they did the dig, sure enough, that's where they found a mass grave, right where we're standing there praying. And so all of those stories were not just folklore, they were
Yeah, it looks like we're having some technical difficulties, but we're going to keep going. Miss Kristi was sharing that this is exactly why stories can be so powerful. And in the future, Kristi, do you want to take this one?
Yes. Today, there aren't many Black businesses left in Greenwood. When you walk through Greenwood, there are symbols from the past that remain there to remind us of the past, such as the red brick buildings. And there are even some structures that have been rebuilt with some of the burned bricks from the massacre. As we build and fight for the future of Greenwood, it's important that we continue to tell the stories and untold stories of the people who no longer live there and those who still live there. Can change this. There are 3 survivors from the 1921 Tulsa massacre who continue to tell their stories about that horrible night. The first picture is myself and City Councilor Vanessa Hall Harper with Hughes Van Ellis, who is 100 years old. And the second picture it's me holding up Mother Fletcher's her Oklahoma City Thunder jersey with her name on it. She was so excited about that jersey. Viola Fletcher, who is 108 years old, and Leslie Randall, who we call Mother Randall. She's 107 years old. And in fact, their stories were so powerful that they were able to go to the White House and tell their stories to the United States Congress. And because of that, our President Joe Biden came to visit Greenwood, and the survivors got to meet him, and they're doing some very important work as it relates to justice from the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre. And there are other ways that we can use symbols in our stories. I often use artwork and put symbols in my artwork to tell those stories. And as you see here, you can see the Williams Dreamland Theater as it was burned. And you could see my Aunt Janie and her boyfriend there in the picture. And you see the sign Greenwood. And one of the things that you probably noticed as I was telling the story was the red birds. Our ancestors often believe that the ancestors are carried in those red birds. So if you ever visit Greenwood and you sit down on a park bench on Greenwood, right on Black Wall Street, you'll see red birds. And it is crazy. You will see a lot of red birds through Greenwood. And so this is just the importance of the symbols in telling your story. So when you see artwork, look at the artwork and notice the symbols that are in the artwork, because they will tell a story.
Thank you so much, Kristi. And just to pick up on that idea of symbols being able to help us tell stories, another way that I'm using symbols in my story map and in my work as an archaeologist is looking at the landscape. And one of the most powerful symbols that comes out of the land are periwinkles. Have you all seen periwinkle flowers before? Yeah? Okay, I see some hands. So we might have some parents that like to garden, or if you like to garden, you might see periwinkles. But they're these little blue flowers, and they look like they're just, small, dainty flowers, but they are powerful symbols. And think about what could they be a symbol of? And if you are dropping in the chat, you might guess that these are symbols of resilience, just like those red birds. And why they represent resilience is because they are these little blue flowers, but they are used to mark burial spaces, and specifically for enslaved African Americans who were not able to afford a headstone for their loved ones. They would often mark their burial spaces with these blue flowers, with periwinkles, because periwinkles are also a sign of resilience. They are these really powerful, resilient plants that can grow anywhere, in anything, even acidic soil. So they can grow in dark and bright spaces. They grow all year round, every season, and they can withstand almost anything. So if you can't put a stone there to mark where your loved ones are, the next best thing is to put something there that can take anything, the most resilient flower possible. So this is also a really special symbol, not just for its resilience, but also for its color, the color blue. And the color blue was often used in the past as a sign of spiritual protection. This is the color of water, the color of the sky. There's a lot of spiritual connection to the color blue. And a lot of people in the past believed that if you put glass bottles, blue glass bottles specifically, around your house or in trees around your house, this was a protection to ward off evil spirits. So when we as archaeologists were finding glass bottles, fragments of glass bottles buried underground, and we see the color blue over and over again, that's a sign that there's a deeper meaning here. So we have to be really careful and look closely for symbols so we don't interpret this site wrong. And another way we use archaeology is to actually find out our own family stories. So I've been using archaeology to find my ancestors as well, just like Miss Kristi was sharing her story. So how do we do this? How does archaeology help us tell stories about the past, present, and future? Have you all heard of the word archaeology before? Yeah, we got some folks. Okay. Anybody want to be an archaeologist? Oh, okay, we got one. I see some hands. Okay, I'll have to talk to y'all later. But this is another way for us to tell stories. We can use all the clues from the past that we can to try to put together pieces of a puzzle. So we use artifacts, maps, documents, oral histories, old photos, even landscapes to try to put this puzzle together. And so how I did it is I first went to some archival records, and this is actually a copy of a census page in 1920. And the census was a way to record how many people were living in an area. And this is a page from 1920 in Tulsa, 1 year before the Tulsa Race Massacre that Miss Kristi mentioned. And on this line 40, you can see a name, Robert Ware. That was my second great uncle, so my great great uncle. And he was 12 years old at the time this census was taken. He was going to Dunbar grade school as a 12-year-old child in Greenwood. And I had to dive deeper to figure out what happened to him. What other clues could I use to do that? So we have to put our thinking caps on. And I had to get into the archives again. And I found a World War II draft card. So if your family has veterans, you might have something like this, an artifact like this in your family story too. So this is a draft card for Robert when he was drafted in 1940 to join the war. So from this card, from this artifact, I was able to learn that not only did he survive the Tulsa Race Massacre, but he grew up to become a soldier and fought in World War II. And then another curious thing happened. This artifact led me to a specific detail where, thinking about what he looked like, because I don't have any pictures of him, the only thing I know is that both of his hands were burned. And now this is a family mystery to find out how he survived, but both of his hands got burned in the process. We're still trying to figure that out. So another thing that we're doing is building story maps. So putting together all of our clues to create these story maps. And with 2892, my story map explores the legacy of Black education in the state of Oklahoma, connecting Black towns and Black schools together. And fun fact, you may not know, but if you've heard of the term HBCU, has anyone heard of that term before, that acronym? Yeah, it stands for Historically Black Colleges and Universities. So you may not know, but there are colleges across the country that were built specifically for Black students. And one of them in Oklahoma is called Langston University. And another one of my ancestors, Cynthia Ware, was there the day the school opened and was one of their first classes to graduate. So how can symbols help you tell your stories? You can think about the symbols that we talked about today. What did you notice? How did they make you feel? Did you connect to them in some way? And what symbols would you use to tell your own family story? And just for fun, I hope you were paying attention. Did you count the number of red birds in this explorer journey? Raise your hand if you think there were 5. Raise your hand if you think 10. Okay, 15. Okay, what about 20? There were 15. So all of y'all that are paying attention, there were 15 red birds in this story. But thank you all so, so much for being part of this Explorer Classroom today. If you can go to both teachers and those out there watching on YouTube, you can go to 2892walk.org and you can find our Tulsa collection there. And in this Tulsa collection, I was actually going to kick this over to Miss Ashley to explain more about what they can find there at 2892walk.org on the website. But I also want to plug that I'm working on another Explorer Classroom that's all about archaeology. So if you're curious about what it's like to be an archaeologist, you can join me in that Explorer Classroom next. Oh, Ashley, I think you're muted.
Oops, sorry about that. Thank you, Dr. Odewale and Kristi. It's so great to hear about the Tulsa work and stories from your ancestors. And as Dr. Odewale shared, if you go to 2892walk.org, teachers, you'll find all kinds of resources under the For Educators tab, and then you can explore in detail Kristi and Dr. Odewale's stories under the Tulsa collection, as well as the other storytellers on that team and all of our sites. So I guess we'll open it up for Q&A now, and we'll let you take it with that.
Before we do the Q&A, I think, Kristi, did you want to share your Black History Saturday program?
Oh, good point. Yes.
Yes. You guys have such a great opportunity for us to sit here and talk to you about the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre and Black history facts, because there are a lot of students who won't have that opportunity based on laws. But in response to that, we have Black History Saturdays where we are teaching the entire community from pre-K to adults Black history, not just in Black History Month, but all throughout the year. And so I am so excited about Black History Saturdays and working alongside.
Well, Miss Kristi's working alongside a lot of powerful educators that have come together just to share Black history with people in Greenwood. And soon we're hoping that they'll be launching this online, working with National Geographic to hopefully work that out. So I think we're ready for our Q&A.
Thank you again. I could stay here. We could all stay here for hours and hours sharing and learning from each other through stories. So we thank you to Ashley, to Dr. Odewale, and to Kristi, to all the students and teachers watching. We really hope that you enjoyed today's Explorer Classroom, and we hope that you join us for many more of our events. Our next event for ages 9 through 14 will be held next week, Thursday, February 9th. Join Explorer Gibbs Kuguru and hear what he has learned about life from studying and diving with sharks. So go ahead and register for this event and more at natgeoed.org/Explorer Classroom. You can request a chance to be featured on screen. Fellow teachers, we've also created a new interactive guide for you to share with your students to take them on a learning journey with each of our special guests. Find the Explorer Mindset in Action Guide and Teacher Edition linked on each event registration page. With that, I wish everyone a great day. And remember, stay curious and keep exploring. Bye.